Hello everyone, I've just received my Tag of the Month kit from Padilla of Piles of Paragraphs. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Padilla is one of the admins in our Facebook group, and she has an Etsy store called Piles of Paragraphs, and one of her most popular items is the Tag of the Month kit, which is just a superb little kit, very inexpensive as well, for just under £6 including delivery for us here in the UK. Laurie each month sends out a kit full of paper scraps and trims, ribbons, organzas, materials and that kind of thing for you to make a tag. She also includes a little sort of instruction leaflet as well that basically says that you're free to create any tag of your choice, add any of your own products if you want to, and only use the parts of the kit that work for you. So this is the kit for June, so let's have a look and see what's in here for this month. We've got some lovely organza, various trims as well, this lovely lace, and some green sequin trim. That looks like a printable of some lace as well. We've got a couple of focal images this month. I love both of those. Oh my goodness me, I'm going to be hard pressed to choose which one I want to use this month. And then various background pages as well. We've got a piece of paper here, if I can grab hold of it, that we can use as the tag base. So that's just a cream piece of thin cardstock. We've also got this taupe cardstock. I love that, love the colour of that. And then the theme this month is pinks and greens, so we've got some lovely pretty papers here. I love all of these, they're gorgeous. Love the polka dots. We've got some very thin tissue type origami type paper, love that. Are these double-sided? No, they're not. And then a piece of green organza ribbon as well. So thinking cap on, let's have a look and see what I can come up with for this month's tag. Now, as I've done with most of my other tags, I'm going to work on the focal image first. I've decided on this floral pattern here as opposed to this image here. I just think it's beautiful. I'll save that and I'll use that for something else. I've also dug out here one of these ready mount vintage slides. I've got these, a whole pack of them, and this is what they look like. That's what they look like whole. One of them has come apart. These are quite fragile because they're so old, and so I'm going to use one of these to mount my floral image. So I'm going to start off by choosing which part of this image I want to use. That is just so gorgeous. And then I can trim it to size because it's a bit big at the moment. I think I like that part of the image there. So I'm just going to trim some off the side here and some off the bottom until it fits really nicely on that slide. So there we go, I've trimmed it, and so now we've got a perfect fit. It just fits within the border of that frame, so I'm happy with that. I do want to colour my frame though, so what have I done with my craft sheet? I've just got one of these pieces of craft sheet here, and I'm going to use my Distress Oxide in peeled paint, which I think will work really nicely colour-wise for the background. I'm just going to spray that with a little bit of water like this, and then just dip my slide into it just to colour it. Like this. I haven't used my distress paints in ages. I just love that. That is gorgeous. And so I'm just going to dry this now with my heat tool. And you can see where some of the ink has pooled. I'm leaving that because I really like how interesting that looks. So that's what we've got so far, and since I've got lots of ink left on my mat, I'm just going to dip it in again and just try and build up some interesting type of pattern. And again, I shall just go ahead and dry this, and I'll just keep dipping this in until I'm happy with the way that that looks. So I've just gone in for my third and final dip. I've run out of ink now. I'm really happy with that, so I'm just going to give it another dry. I just love the pattern that I've got going on here. Now, because the oxides oxidize when they're sprayed with water, I'm just going to spray this just to get some nice patterns going on. Just look how pretty that looks. And I'm going to give it another dry. I love that. So this is how it's looking. Just look how gorgeous that is. I'm really happy with that. I want to ink around the edges with some frayed burlap, so just to define the edges of the frame a little bit. So we'll just go around like this on the outside and in the centre. I might need to grab a smaller sponge to get into the middle. Let's see how we get on. We might be okay. No, this is fine. So I'm just going to ink the centre as well. And then I need to grab some glue just so that I can glue the image to the back. And that's the focal image done for the tag. And I think this is going to look absolutely gorgeous. And so let me just have a look. That's how my focal image is going to look. I think I'm going to use some of my 3-in-1 to glue this down. It will be fine. And I'm just going to add the glue. Oh, hang on, I need a cloth just to wipe the end. I'm just going to apply the glue just to the middle of the frame here, like this. There we are. And then I can stick my focal image down. Press that down so that that's held firmly in place, and there we have it. There's our focal image. Now I think that there's enough paper and embellishments and trims and things in this tag kit to make 2 tags this month, so that's my aim. So let's start building our tag base. Now of course most of mine have got a craft backing. In fact all of them have, and I want to keep that theme going. So let's put that to one side for the time being. I'm going to start off with this piece of origami tissue paper here, and I'm just going to tear it down the one side like this, just to make it more irregular. So we'll start off by doing this. Not trying to get it straight in any way, so that's going to go on the edge there. I've also pulled out some of my ledger paper because I just love having just a bit of neutrality with all of the colours that are going on. Right, so I'm going to glue the ledger paper down first, and I've chosen a piece that isn't too bold. Of course the ink on the reverse side is really bold. I just want something a bit more subtle. So we'll just stick this down first. As usual, just applying plenty around the edges. So let's stick this down here like so. Grab a bone folder just to make sure that that's firmly stuck down, and then I can trim around the edges in a second. And then I'm just going to glue this over the top. Like that, as close to the edge as I can get it. So again, let's just turn the deli paper over. You can use old book pages, whatever you have for this, just to avoid making any mess with your glue. Let's pay particular attention to the edges again. I know this is going to turn out absolutely beautifully. Well, at least I hope it is. Right, and again, let's just concentrate on getting that right to the edge, like that. Bring in the bone folder again and stick that down. Just trying to remove any wrinkles. There we go. Love that so far. So I'm just going to let that dry for a minute or two and trim around the edges. So I just want to ink around the edges. I'm going to start off with some frayed burlap. I might add some espresso truffle as well, but I just want to start off with frayed burlap. Love how that looks. And yes, I do. I want to come in with some of my espresso truffle as well. So just to go around the very edge and just darken it, frame it more slightly. See, that just makes a big difference in my opinion. I love that. This just really helps to frame it. Now I've decided I'm going to keep this really simple. I'm going to go with primarily greens and just the pinks, not too much pattern with this one here. I just love how that looks, but I want to add the tulle as well. I think I called this organza when I was going through the description of what was included in the kit. It's tulle, guys. It's not organza. That looks really, really pretty. I love how that looks. Right, what else do I want to do? I'm also toying with the idea as well as to whether I should add the backing of this slide here, just to add a bit more dimension and texture to my piece. So I think I'm going to glue that on as well. So I'm just going to glue this on in the same way as I did before, just using some 3-in-1 if I can get it to come out of the tube. And that will just provide a bit more dimension to the focal image as well and make it sit just slightly proud of the background. So there we go. Stick that down. And then I'm just going to weight this underneath a heavy book just for a second or two, and then I shall ink around the edge of the background as well. So this is stuck down now, and I just like the extra weight that's given it. It just gives it more texture and just makes it more substantial on the tag. So I'm happy with that. So I just want to play around now with my layout, and I want a slightly asymmetric theme going on like that. I also want to bring in this piece of paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this very slightly just so that it's completely symmetrical. So I'm just going to do that on my paper trimmer. So I've trimmed that now and that's symmetrical, and I'm just going to fold this in half because I'm sure you can guess what I'm going to do with this. Now I've changed my mind with this. I'm going to fussy cut the flower out instead because I've got an idea for the top. So I'm just going to fussy cut just around the scalloped flower like so. So I've fussy cut my flower out and I'm going to glue that down to my tag. I'm just doing this bit by bit. So we'll just use some glue here. Oh, come on. I'm getting to the end of my glue here and it's or either that or it needs some acetone adding to it to thin it out maybe. So I'll just add some of that and I'm just going to stick that down to the center of my tag like this. There or thereabouts, that's fine. Yep, liking that, and that just ties, as I say, the pink into the equation because the two tones here are the same, liking that. And I just want to add a tab to the top as well. So I want to use this Moroccan influenced piece at the top. I'm just going to fold that in half and just trim that. I don't need all of it, and perhaps I can use the leftovers in my next piece as well. And again, I'm just going to ink around the edge of that. So I just want to bring in a piece of this organza ribbon as well. I'm just going to straighten the edge off. And what I'm going to do is just, oh, that wasn't very straight, was it? Good grief. Hang on, try it again. There we go, that's a bit better. I'm just going to glue that down onto the ribbon like that. I think that will look really pretty. I'll do that by applying the glue to the back of the cardstock rather than the glue to the ribbon. And I'm going to thin this down with my finger as well, just so that it doesn't seep through. So I've just applied the glue and I'm going to stick that down. Oh, hang on, better bring back a piece of deli paper. So let's glue that down like that, and then we can trim the top of that there as well. And we've still got a piece of that ribbon as well to use for something else. So I'll let that dry for a second or two. So I just love the extra bit of detail and glimmer that has given. So let's deal with the outside first. I want to ink around the outside of this piece here, and then we can just glue it down. And then I've got to decide what I want to do with all the leftover bits and pieces that Laurie has included in this month's kit. Now I just want to go one step further with this tab at the top, and I want to add some of this lovely trim here. I'm just going to trim the ruffly bits off. Oh, whoops a daisy, here we go. Try and get this as neat as I can get it. What have I done with my Fabri-Tac? I'm just going to run a bead of Fabri-Tac just down the centre, like this. There we go. And then I'll attach the trim like so. And then let me just make sure that I've got that fairly central. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm just going to trim that at the top like that as well. Oh, could have done with a better pair of scissors. I really ought to go and find my fabric scissors, really. There we go. So I'm happy with that, and so that's going to go on the top of my tab like that. Isn't that pretty? I love how that looks. Right, so we'll apply some glue again just to the center like this, and then we can glue that down. It was that way round, wasn't it, that I decided I wanted it. Find the central point, slide that over about there, like that. Try and get that fairly straight. And then my tab is going to go over the top like this. So let's start piecing this together as well. So I'm going to start off by gluing my tag down. So we'll add a bead of glue all around the outside, like so, and some in the middle. And stick that down. I want this centralised like that. So I'm just going to weight that down for a second or two and make sure that the glue has grabbed. And then I want my focal image to go in this part here. So let me just put a pencil mark just so that I can remember where it's going to go. So we'll just make a pencil mark like that. So I'm just going to trim that slightly with a bit left over. There we go. And then I can apply glue to the whole of this piece here. So we'll just pop that down like that. Move that out of the way. And then of course I want my organza tulle. Here we go. So we'll pop that there like that. I want this asymmetrical, so I want this hanging over the edge of the background tag like that. And I'm just going to apply glue all over the back of this here rather than to the fabric itself. So let's pop this down like this, plenty in the middle. Spread that out so that it's nice and straight, and the glue that I've got going on here will hold everything in place. And so I'm just going to weight that down underneath a heavy book for a second or two. So let's just trim this and decide whether it needs anything else. Oh, there we go. I'll need to ink around that side as well, because I've cut the inking off. I think that's so beautiful. I love how that looks. Do I want to add anything else or just leave it as it is? Well, of course, you know that I can never stop. I've dug out one of my Tim Holtz butterflies. They look like this with a white border around it. Hang on, I can't grab it. So they look like that. And I've trimmed the white border in this instance and just bent it as well slightly, just so that I can add it with a bit of dimension. With the white border, it was just a bit too big for that spot there. I've also grabbed one of the Tim Holtz chit chat words, let life surprise you. So I'm just going to add that to the bottom of my page as well. And again, I'm just going to use my 3-in-1 just to stick that down. Now, as far as the butterfly is concerned, I'm just going to apply a small amount of glue just to the spine here because I want some dimension on it. I don't want it completely flat to the page. So let's just wipe off these stringy bits. So that's going to go down there about there. Yep, happy with that. And again, although the Tim Holtz words are sticky, they don't stick down well enough without a dab of glue. So in my opinion, you do need to add some kind of glue to these as well. And I want that to go about there. I'm so happy with that tag. I just think that's gorgeous. I love it. Now, there are no antennae on this butterfly, so I'm just going to add some, just using a micron pen. There we go. And just add a touch of a bead on the end like that. Really happy with that. Isn't that gorgeous? So, turning my attention to the scraps that I've got left, I've got these gems here, which I did end up cutting in half to see if I could use them, but they just didn't fit the style of the previous tag. I've got a tiny weeny bit of trim and all of these papers left here, some of the organza ribbon. So, again, I'm just going to start off with the focal image first. So, I've got a tiny piece of burlap, which I've frayed around the edges. It's another piece of this ribbon here, so I think that will look really nice. I'm going to ink around the edges of the focal image, which I have trimmed. There was a bit of white around the edges, and I've trimmed that. I'm using Memento Ink and Espresso truffle here to do this so that it stands out really nicely on that frayed burlap. And I'm just going to glue that down with some 3-in-1. So I'm just applying my glue all over the back in the same way that I always do here, like this, and we'll stick that down to the frayed burlap like so. I love how that looks. And then I'm going to mount this on this piece of buff coloured paper. I just love how that looks too. So I'm just going to trim this down the side. And so that's my focal image done. I love that. So I've trimmed that down. And again, I'm just going to stick that down with a bit more glue. I'm not going to go right the way to the edges because I just like that bit of dimension that it has when things lift slightly around the edges. So, you know, that will do. And we can glue that on. Those colours just work so nicely together. I love how that looks. So next step, I just want to ink around all the pieces, the remaining pieces that we've got left from the kit. I've already done it on this one here because of course I used that on the last piece, but I'm just going to ink around all of these as well. And as soon as I've done that, I shall be back and let's start piecing things together. Now, I've inked around the edges of all of these pieces, so I just want to glue everything down. So I've got myself a piece of parchment paper. Let's do this. I'm going to apply it directly to the back of the papers. Again, as always, just making sure that I pay particular attention to the edges. We'll have this piece on the side here. I'm going to apply it straight to the edge just so that, you know, if I can save any of this, all the better to use in other other projects, and we'll just use a bone folder just to make sure that that's firmly glued down. I can trim around this afterwards, so that's that. And then I want to have this piece here. Let's choose a clean piece of the deli paper, and again we'll just apply plenty of glue there as well. And so that one is going to go in the top left hand corner. So I'm going to have that there like so. And this one here is going to go in the bottom left hand corner. Am I in frame? Ooh, could do with moving the camera up a bit. So we'll apply the glue to this one here as well. So a nice simple background, just using all of these leftover pieces that Laurie included in the kit. There was a lot in the kit this time, which is lovely to see. It just gives you more options. I really like this kit, Laurie. I think this is my favourite one so far. And again, just glue to this piece here as well. And we'll attach that down in the middle. And so that is my background. So I'm just going to go off now and trim around the edges. So we're doing pretty well. I've only got these few bits and pieces left over to use. I'm thinking I can glue this tiny piece of trim onto there like that. I really like how that looks. Let me just bring back my deli paper. So that's going to go on there like that. I think I'll apply it to the centre of the card like this and just glue that on. I love all the stringy bits as well. That adds interest to me. So we'll pop that on like that. Now, which way round do I like it? I think I like it that way around. So let's try piecing this together. Now, I want my focal image to go on the tag here like this. So I'm going to glue that down first. It's already been inked around the edges. So, oh, whoops daisy, I've dropped it. Come back. So we'll just add a small amount of glue on there like that, butter fingers. Try and centralise that. I like that about there. And then how do I want to use this organza? Maybe, let me just trim this off first to straighten that edge up. Just makes it easier for me to visualise. Do the same on that end there as well. And then maybe, can I have that on there like that? So have that going over the top. And then that on there. Let me just bring back, because I've got another one of these backgrounds cut as well. Let me just ink around the edge of this one first. Okie dokie, decision made. I know what I'm going to do now. I've inked around the edges, so that's made it easier for me to visualise. And I'm going to glue this on the top of the tag like that. And then I think I'm going to just round off the corners of this one here, just to make it look a bit more interesting. So of course I'm going to need a bit more ink around the edges where I've cut there, like that. It's just made it look a bit softer. I like how that looks, and so I'm going to glue that down now. So here we go, we'll just glue around the edges of this one here. Bit in the middle as well. Ta-ta-ta. Stick that down. Really happy with that. And then I'm just going to glue that little piece on there like so. I just think that looks so pretty. Whilst I've got the glue out, let's do that. Centralise that on the organza ribbon. And do I want to do anything else? I just love how that's looking. Isn't that pretty? Now, I just want to add a couple more things to this tag. I just feel that it needs something neutral just to balance it out at the top there. So I've pulled out some of my ribbon, my flower ribbon. I'm going to add that there. And again, I'm just going to use my 3-in-1. The easiest way to do this is just to apply a tiny blob or dab just to the centre of the flowers, like this. So I'm just going to add that to the top there, like so. Centralize that. Needs to move over just a tad. And then I've got another one of the Tim Holt sentiments, Timeless, which I'm just going to add to the top. I have inked around the edge of this as well, just in espresso truffle, just because I had that to hand. So that's just going to go there like that. And that is my finished tag. Isn't that gorgeous? So here are my finished tags from this month's kit. And the only pieces I have left are the two pieces of the blingy trim here and this piece here, which I'll put aside and I'll use for something else. I've got a bag of leftover bits from Laurie's kits, but I just love those so much, and I'm thrilled to bits that I was able to get two tags out of the one kit this month, and I love them both, although I do think that this one here is my favourite. So as always, I'll leave the details of Laurie's Etsy store in the description box below, piles of paragraphs. You can share your makes as well if you decide to participate in this by using the hashtag piles of paragraphs on Instagram. People are playing along with this in the Facebook group as well, the Mixed Media Emporium, so I'll leave the link to our Facebook group in the description box below. But what I really like about these kits is that everything is chosen for you. I mean, I have got a multitude of things that I could use of my own in my stash, but sometimes that can be really overwhelming. I like the fact that I receive a little package with enough elements in it to make the tag without me having to overthink it. And if I want to add bits and pieces of my own along the way, of course I can do, and Laurie encourages you to do that. It's just like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. It is just so much fun to play with. So I hope you like what I've done with the tags for this month, and as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up if you did. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, and stay safe, take care everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.